The evils of fascism were incremental. As its small evils became big evils, German society managed to be oblivious to its own atrocities. At first, concentration camps contained people who didn't conform. Then they became forced labor camps. Eventually, the Nazis built death camps, which were located outside of Germany and therefore farther from public view. With what the Nazis called the final solution, the entire Jewish population was targeted for extermination. In total, approximately 6 million Jews died from Nazi persecution. 2.7 million of those died in death camps. Auschwitz-Birkenau in Poland was the biggest and most notorious concentration camp in the Nazi system. Seeing the camp can be difficult, but Auschwitz survivors want tourists to come here, to try to appreciate the scale and the monstrosity of the place in human terms, in hopes that this horror, known as the Holocaust, will never be forgotten. As they entered these work camps, prisoners were greeted with a sign over the entrance, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free, a cynical lie. Once inside, inmates were either worked to death or executed. New arrivals were sorted into two categories: those who would be sent to the gas chambers immediately, and those who could work would live, at least a little longer. Halls are lined with photographs of victims, each marked with dates of arrival and dates of death. Inmates rarely survived more than a couple of months. Up to 1,000 people, each tattooed with an ID number, were packed into each of these buildings. The gas chambers, where the mass killing was done, were disguised as showers. People were given hooks to hang their clothes on, conned into thinking they were coming back. The Nazis didn't want to panic. Then the inmates piled into the shower room. In this facility, the Nazis gassed and cremated over 4,000 people per day.
The Holocaust is one of the most terrible events in human history. It occurred during World War II, when Adolf Hitler was the leader of Germany. 6 million Jewish people, included 1 million Jewish children, were murdered by the Nazis. Millions of other people that Hitler didn't like were killed as well, such as Polish people, Catholics, Serbs, and handicapped men. It is a thought that the Nazis murdered as much as 17 million of innocent people.
Hitler hated Jewish people and blamed them for Germany losing World War I. He considered Jewish people to be less than human. Hitler also believed in the superiority of the Aryan race. He wanted to use Darwinism and breeding in order to create a race of perfect people. Hitler wrote in his book Mein Kampf that when he became ruler, he would get rid of Germany of all Jews. Not many people believed that he would really do this, but as soon as he became Chancellor, he started his work against the Jews. He made laws that said Jews had no rights. Then he organized attacks on Jewish businesses and homes. On November 9, 1938, many Jewish homes and businesses were either burned or vandalized. This night were called the Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass.
During World War II, when the Nazis would take over a city in Europe, they would force all of the Jewish people into one area of town, and this area was called a ghetto and was fenced in with barbed wire and guarded. There was little food, water, or medicine available, and it was also very crowded with multiple families, and sometimes they sharing a single room to live in.
There was a place called concentration camp. All Jewish people were eventually to be brought to the concentration camp. They were told they were relocating a new and a better place, but that was not the case. It was actually a prison, and they were forced to do hard labor. The weak ones were killed or died of starvation. Some camps even had gas chamber, and a large group of people would be led into the chamber only to be killed by a poison gas. The concentration camps were terrible places.
Many Jewish people hid from the Nazis during World War II. They would hide with non-Jewish families. Sometimes they will pretend that they are a part of the family. Sometimes they will hide in the hidden room or basement or in an attic. Some were able to eventually escape from the country across the border to a free country, but many hid for years in the same room.
There are many stories of Jewish people striving to survive the Holocaust and the heroes who helped them. Here are a few.
This diary tells a real-life story of a young girl called Anne Franks. She and her family hid from the Nazis for 2 years before they were captured. Unfortunately, Anne died in the concentration camp, but her diary survived to tell her story.
Second one is Oskar Schindler. He is a German businessman who managed to save more than 1,000 Jewish people who worked in his factories. This made into a movie named Schindler's List.
This tells the true story about Corrie ten Boom, the Dutch lady who helped to hide Jewish people from the Nazis, and then Corrie gets caught by a spy, however, and is sent to a concentration camp. She survives the camp and is let free at the end of the war.